What's up, guys, and welcome to the Wrestling for Life Network. And the TNA review is a little different this week. We will be giving our predictions and previews for the big Slammiversary card tonight. I do have a special guest with me today. We'll get right into everything, but I am super excited for this card, so let's get into it. Like I said, guys, welcome to the Wrestling for Life Network. And this is a little bit different this week. No TNA review. Will be covering Slammiversary this week. And I'm not here alone for the first time since I started this a couple of months ago. I am here with a friend, Phil, and I'm going to let Phil introduce himself.
What's going on, guys? This is the first time here on the Wrestling for Life Network. I absolutely love everything about this. Look at this. This is just insane. The intro was awesome and all of that. Look, you guys are going to absolutely love this sit down between me and Anthony talking about Slammiversary. Slammiversary is looking like a hell of a show. We already know there's going to be some surprises based on what Jordan Gray said earlier on this week in an interview with Busted Open. So I cannot wait for this show. I know you can't wait for this show, and this is just going to be absolutely awesome. But you guys can follow me if you are ever so inclined to do so on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. I never call it X, it's Twitter. At PhillyMatt_. It is right there for you guys so that you guys know how to spell my last name, because I've been called Omelet before, and that's not how you pronounce my name. It's We Met. So, yes, so you guys can follow me on there, and you guys can also follow me if I ever so inclined to do so as well on the Outside the Brand YouTube channel, where that is my podcast with a bunch of other creators here in this space as well. And we will be covering some stuff later on this weekend as well for either WWE stuff that happened earlier on in the week and later on down the line, as we will be doing obviously SummerSlam predictions and a SummerSlam review, and it's going to be incredible. So stay tuned for all of that. But other than that, let's get right into this, man. This is going to be a great show to talk about.
Yeah, I am super excited for Slammiversary. I'm glad I got you on here so we can kind of chop this thing up and get it out there to everyone that this pay-per-view is going to be really good. You mentioned earlier in your introduction how there are some surprises apparently from Jordan Gray. She kind of mentioned that at the press conference, and I think she made a tweet about it. And then Joe Hendry, I'm not sure if you have seen this, but Joe Hendry said when he wins the TNA World Championship, he is going to turn to the camera and call out one of your all-time favorites in John Cena.
Yeah, that's insane. You know, I felt like when I listened to an interview with him and Chris Van Vliet not too long ago, and Chris Van Vliet, he kind of dove into the whole John Cena thing with Joe Hendry. And Joe Hendry and John Cena have, you know, somewhat of a little bit of history. It's not like long or anything like that, but he got to talk to John Cena in a very early part of his life, and he just wants to give back in a way and just have a match with him. I think that match is inevitably going to happen on this retirement tour with John, but it's just going to have to, you know, we're just gonna have to wait and see what happens. We're just gonna have to wait and see when that happens and where that happens, because it can honestly happen at anywhere during those 40 days for John. It's just a matter of time, honestly. So I do believe that's going to happen at some point.
Yeah, and which I think one thing that would be very special is having John Cena in a TNA ring. If you want some eyes on TNA, you get the biggest star in professional wrestling, John Cena, to step over into your world and have that match in a main event of something on TNA. And I think that'd be special. And I know we'll get to the main event because the main event is stacked. We got 6 competitors in there. I don't even know who's going to win at this point, but we'll go ahead and kind of kick this prediction off with the first match of the countdown. We'll be only covering one of the matches on the countdown, and this is the Knockouts Tag Team Championship match. Masha Slamovich and Alicia Edwards will be taking on Spitfire, and I think me personally, I'm a big fan of Alicia Edwards. I think she has a lot of charisma. She's not one of the best in the ring, but she has a lot of charisma on the mic. She knows how to build the system up. And Masha Slamovich is just a hard-hitting powerhouse. Like, she in that ring, anytime you see Masha Slamovich, she's going full speed ahead into her matches. And Spitfire really has came a long way since their beginning. Late in 2023, you got Jody Thread out there, you got Danny Luna, who Danny Luna is an excellent addition to the Knockouts division. So this match I feel like is going to be great. I do believe on my side, I do believe that Spitfire will take home the victory and win those Knockouts Tag Team Championships back. I think the story they've been building over the past roughly a month and a half has been working in Spitfire's favor. So I got Spitfire taking home the victory in this match.
Yeah, I got Spitfire too, to be completely honest. I've seen what they have done. I've seen what the story they're trying to cook up here, and it does seem like they are going to come on in and win those titles. But I'm not going to be surprised at all if Militia just picks up the victory here, and they are the champions coming in, right? I'm sorry,
right?
Yeah. So, I'm not going to be surprised because I, for one, love Masha Slamovich. I think she's just so awesome at what she does. Like, I just have been loving what she does. I love all the women here in this contest, so I'm not going to be mad one way or another who wins this personally, but I do believe we do have some new women's tag team champions within the Knockouts division.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And like both sides, I feel like are stacked with the teams. And like, I don't know what's really out of everything that's gone down at Slammiversary. I don't know what's happening with the system. It seems like the system could be losing their titles, all of them, or they could retain. So I feel like this match, since it's going to be on the kickoff, might kind of tell us where the system is headed throughout the night. So if Militia wins, I'm expecting someone else in the system to retain their titles. It could be Moose. It could be, when we get there, the TNA Tag Team Champions, Brian Myers and Eddie Edwards. But this match, I really think, will set the tone for the remainder of the night, what comes out with the system. But like you feel, I am not going to be upset regardless of what tag team wins here, because I'm a fan of all 4 of them that's in the ring. But yeah, this is really going to kind of kick off the night for the system.
Indeed.
Yeah. So the next match we got on the card, we got Mike Santana versus Jake Something. And I don't even know how this all came together, because Mike Santana has kind of been at it with JDC over the past couple of weeks. And then all of a sudden, this match was added to the card. This one is, I guess you can say, as the fans call it, two big men slapping meat or something. I think this is going to be a fun match. I do really want to touch on Mike Santana. I want to get your thoughts about his return to TNA. How you feeling about Mike Santana being back in TNA wrestling?
I love it. I think it just fits him so well. Mike Santana, we all know the story of his. We all know what Mike Santana basically has, represented over the course of the last few weeks and years, months and years, honestly. And we all know how Mike Santana, he left AEW. I'm just trying to go through everything here. He left AEW, came here to TNA, because ultimately in AEW they weren't just really utilizing him and or his former tag team partner in Ortiz real properly. I'll just say it. Like, they should have been AEW tag team champions at some point, and they never were. But you know, he said, you know what? I'll take a chance on myself. I'll bet on myself. I'll leave AEW and come back to TNA, who's been on the rise as of late and has been back brought up to prominence. I think a move from AEW to TNA has only helped Santana look better in the ring. I've only think it's helped Santana just, find that, fire within himself again. And I think it's just ultimately going to be a great move for both sides within the future for however long Santana decides to stay in TNA for. But this match against Jake something, that's interesting, man. Like, I like Jake. I never knew much about Jake until I finally started watching TNA again more frequently. But this guy has something. Like, I don't know what, I don't know what that is that makes me click with him for whatever reason. But I think this match is going to be a sleeper on this card, to be completely honest, because anytime Mike Santana gets into a ring, honestly, with anybody, it's going to be something good to look at. And I'm actually really excited to see this match specifically. But all that being said, I'm actually going to go with Santana to pick up the victory here, because I just think that if you're going to continue on this momentum for Santana, get him the win, continue that momentum, and we'll figure out what to do with Jake something later on down the line, I guess. But I'm going Santana.
Yeah, I'm with you with Mike Santana. Since he's came back to TNA, it's been interesting. He brings a lot of energy in his entrances. You can feel his energy watching the show when he comes out in his entrances. He just brings the passion, the excitement back, in his matches, and I really like that. And like you said, he was underutilized in AEW, and he's been with TNA since about Rebellion, I think, and man has been cooking ever since. And his one goal is to win the TNA World Championship, and I feel like he'll get there. And with Jake something, his last name is like, there's something there with Jake something, right?
Right.
And
There's gotta be
there's
gotta be the
something
thing.
there that you really want to see, and it's going to take a little bit more time to kind of break that mode. And I feel like in the future, he'll as long as he's there, I'm not sure how his contract is, as long as he's there, he'll eventually reach that TNA World Championship picture. So there's something there with Jake something.
There's potential with this guy, and I feel like it's not just for the namesake. There is literally something there that just needs to be brought out of him, and I think this matchup can do that. It's just going to take a little bit more time to get him to where he ultimately can be, and I do believe he can get there. It's just the matter of time.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think just like you, this match, and I talked about it with someone on TikTok, that this match might be the sleeper of the night, that this match could be potentially the match of the night. There's one other match on this card when that we'll get to, that I think will probably steal the show. But if there's a match that you got to keep your eye on, it's definitely Mike Santana versus Jake something. Just like you, though, with predictions, I am taking Mike Santana. I think the next year or so, this is going to be the year of Mike Santana and him being pushed to that main event scene in TNA.
Indeed.
Yeah.
I can't wait for it.
Yeah, I'm looking. When the match was announced, I was like, well, I don't know how we got here, but I'm here for this match and I'm super excited for it. So the next match we got on the card, this one was just announced on this past week's episode, Matt Hardy versus JDC. So if you guys know a little backstory with this, Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy were challenging for the tag team titles this past week on TNA Impact, and they were attacked by JDC, who is somewhat a part of the system now. And Jeff Hardy was taken out, sent to a hospital, and in the back, Matt Hardy's wife was attacked as well by JDC. So this is how we got to this big match happening at Slammiversary, Matt Hardy versus JDC. And just like Mike Santana, I kind of want to get your thoughts about Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy being back in a TNA ring.
It's so nostalgic and I love it. look, I don't know how long these two are going to be here. I don't. But the fact that they are here just makes me so happy inside as a person. I love Matt. I love Jeff. The Hardy Boys, they just have that special place. And I believe all of our hearts when it comes down to just professional wrestling and tag teams. Um, Jeff Hardy showing up when he did in TNA. We, there were some murmurs going around on social media that it could possibly happen or whatever, but I didn't care. If it was going to happen, it was going to happen. That's just how I looked at it. And then when it actually happened and you heard that music, I barked out like a kid again. I did. Like it was just so cool to hear that music and him walking down the ring when Matt was getting beat up again. You did that same thing in AEW. You got to get in, you got to get to the ring when somebody's getting beating up by your brother. But yeah, it's awesome. And Matt Hardy being here, with him being somewhat broken again, that's awesome for him.
Yeah.
Because he made that gimmick in TNA and Impact Wrestling, and he made that his own thing. He created it. He did his thing there, and then went to WWE. He went Woken, and then it wasn't really totally the same. But right here is awesome to see both of them back in a TNA ring. This matchup here is interesting enough as it is. I never, maybe I just completely have been oblivious to the name change, but I looked at the whole graphic here and that looked like Dirty Dango to me. So I was going to call him Dirty Dango, not JDC, but that was probably just on my own doing. But this is going to be cool. I actually like the pair up between these two for whatever reason. I think this is going to be an interesting matchup to say the least. With JDC being technically a part of the system in some way, shape, or form, like that doesn't influence my decision in any way. Because I want Matt Hardy to win, but let's just say if JDC, that's gonna be so hard for me to say now. If JDC somehow did pick up a victory, either because of some system interference or, because of just whatever could happen down this matchup here, if he does win, I won't be mad because obviously there being more story to tell there, but it's just a matter of what's going to be the thing that takes down the system with the Hardys intact.
So. Yeah, absolutely. With Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy kind of being back, I feel like it's just like a reunion of sorts, right? And right now, I feel like if JDC potentially wins, this could set up a Hardy compound match. Because when Jeff returns, and I'm not sure how long he's going to be out, this week it was, an ambulance type deal. So it could be just a couple of weeks. Obviously, we know a storyline. So when Jeff Hardy comes back, I've seen rumors of people saying this is when his version, which I can't remember the name of it, but his version of the broken character comes to life. When he returns, and Willow, that's it. Willow could return. And so I think that's a possibility here if JDC wins. I also feel like Matt Hardy is out for revenge and vindication because his brother was attacked and then he touched his wife. He attacked his wife backstage. So it's like, I feel like Matt Hardy needs to win this match storyline wise, but I also feel like if JDC wins, this just pushes it a little further to we may see the return of Willow and we may see the return of an actual Hardy compound match and not a segment. So I'm excited for this match as well. All of the matches on the card I'm really excited for. So I'm probably going to say that for every match we go through. But this has a lot of story potential, a lot of future story potential with this. So I think this going down tonight will kind of prove where Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy go headed towards their next big pay-per-view in October, Bound for Glory.
And not just what you touched upon there, but when it comes down to not only just the Knockouts Tag Team Championship, but this matchup right here between JDC and Matt Hardy, to me, will be a really good indicator of what can happen to the system throughout the rest of the show.
Oh yeah,
So
absolutely.
we'll see. It's definitely going to be something to look into for sure when it comes
Yeah,
down to the rest of the system.
yeah, absolutely. JDC, he has a lot of influence in the system. Moose is behind him, and at one point, Moose wasn't. So I agree with you. Just not the Knockouts Tag Team Championship match. This match has a lot of implications on what could happen with the system the remainder of the night. So the next match we got on the card as we move along here, this is, I feel like we'll spend the most time on this one because we got to talk about the NXT TNA crossover. We got the Rascals, so Wesley will be a part of Slammiversary tonight, teaming up with Trey Miguel and Zachary Wentz to take on the new quarter catch crew. So I'm super excited for this match tonight. How do you feel? How do you feel about the whole TNA crossover with NXT?
I love it. The only thing I want more from this is, and I'm not saying that getting somebody like Wesley over back technically to TNA is a bad thing. I'm not saying that Tatum Paxley coming over to TNA is a bad thing by any way, shape, or form. I like Charlie Dempsey coming over here to TNA. But when you take a look at what TNA has brought over to NXT over the course
Mm-hmm.
of the past few weeks and what WWE has done, bringing people over to TNA over the past few weeks, I'm not saying it's lopsided, but it's kind of lopsided. Um, and again, that's no disrespect to any of the NXT talent that came over to TNA. I actually love everybody that did show up in TNA on from that side of the field. But when you're bringing somebody like Joe Hendry, and you're
Mm-hmm.
bringing somebody in like Jordan Grace, when you're bringing some people like some big names from the TNA roster to NXT, it just seems like WWE is going to try to poach these talents from TNA. And I like it, hey, if contracts expire, and
Right,
people can sign wherever they want to sign. I
right.
never am, kind of like that. Loyalty is everything in pro wrestling, but it's not really everything if you know the business when it just doing things like that. But
Yeah.
um I think this is going to be fantastic either way, though. No Quarter Catch Crew is a team in NXT rather that has really been on the rise as of late. Because I love Charlie Dempsey and the rest of the crew, but the Rascals being back, that's just so awesome to see. And a good I felt so happy and vindicated for somebody like Zachary Wentz showing back up in NXT, because that whole situation with him, not going to touch upon it, was
Yeah.
terrible and was just not a good thing. But just seeing Wes, just seeing Zach and Trey Miguel back together again, it's just something special. And I think this matchup is going to surprise a lot of people because not a lot of people know much about the no quarter catch crew. So
Mm-hmm.
this is going to be a very good showcase for them. That being said, you gotta have the Rascals win this thing. Come on, this is gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going with the Rascals for sure on this one, but this is going to be awesome nonetheless.
Yeah, absolutely. I do agree with you a little bit in the beginning about we need some bigger NXT guys, stars to come over to TNA. I feel like that is going to happen soon. I do
Yeah,
feel like that. I do feel a little and I don't like to compare, and you know this. I don't like to compare companies, but
yeah,
I feel like when Moose came out a couple of days ago and said this partnership with WWE is way better than anything we ever did with AEW. This is
for
miles,
sure.
better. And he actually said that this is better than what TNA has done in the past with any partnership. And I do feel like right now, WWE is on the receiving end of the bigger stars, but I also do believe TNA's main goal at the beginning of this stage, which I think they've kind of gotten across, is they want people to tune into their product.
Yes.
So they had, the first thing they had was Jordan Grace on NXT, and then to further Jordan Grace being on NXT, they furthered their own storyline on TNA with Jordan Grace and Ash by Elegance, and we'll get to that soon. But that started on NXT television.
That's
And they
it.
wanted people from NXT to come over and watch the progress of this storyline heading into their big match at Slammiversary. We got the Frankie Kazarian and Joe Hendry stuff that happened in that battle royal for the NXT championship, the #1 contendership, because they wanted people to come back to see what happens with Joe Hendry and Frankie Kazarian. So I think right now TNA's main goal is to get eyes on their product. And once they get more eyes on their product, and it just shows already with Slammiversary being sold out, and it's going to be 4,000 people in there, their largest
Which
crowd
is
in
amazing.
years. So it's
Amazing.
already, proven in their benefit that they need more eyes on the product. So I think the bigger stars are going to happen. I think we'll get Obafemi maybe in TNA soon with
That would be
Moose.
insane.
I don't know. I'm still hoping, and my little heart is still hoping for the main roster crossovers as well. It's been mentioned with people like Naomi and Chelsea Green saying she wants to win the Knockouts title. So yeah, I think it's coming. And I feel like we use the term cooking a lot, and I feel like we use the term be patient. I feel like in this sense, we kind of have to be patient because I think TNA has a main goal and WWE has a main goal as well. And I feel like the start of the Rascals reuniting and Wes Lee coming over, I feel like that's going to be the start of the bigger name stars from NXT to show up on TNA television. But regarding this match, I got the Rascals too, because you can't go against the Rascals. When you see guys like Trey Miguel crying in the ring because of a reunion and because of how much they wanted this and how much they tweeted it out, I gotta go with the Rascals here.
Yeah. Look, this whole TNA and NXT partnership is so new, right? I mean, like when it comes down to everything here, TNA, I'm not just saying they're just happy to be here, being in bed with WWE and just allowing themselves to have a partnership here. But when Moose sent that out about how this TNA partnership is way better with WWE than it was ever in AEW, I'm not like you said, I'm not here really to compare, but he was 100% right in that whole situation. I love that AEW was kind of like, in this era of pro wrestling, because I know it's happened in the past, but it really didn't happen in much of like this kind of sense.
Right.
Where I'm happy where AEW kind of started the whole trend of working with other companies and really making something happen with other companies. But at that point in time, we had no idea what that was even going to mean. So the fact that they did what they did with TNA, and then you compare it in a sense to what WWE is doing with TNA, it's just so much. It's such a night and day difference. It's not even a possibility of what could actually happen within the future. And you're right. TNA is trying to get a lot more eyes on this product. You said it yourself. This is the biggest crowd that TNA has had in years for a. Do they call them PLEs now? Because I heard they call them PLEs and their pay-per-views still. So I don't know. I'll call them PLEs just for the sake of it. But it's the biggest crowd for something like this in a very long time for TNA. And while TNA doesn't really have, the channel that they're on for television is not in a lot of homes, which sucks because when you have a product as good as you have here with TNA, you want to have more eyes on the product, but sometimes you just can't control that based on whatever network you're on. So I don't know whenever their TV deals are up, but whenever that happens, and if they do just decide to get away from their current, television network that they're on, if they get to a bigger network and are exposed to more eyes on television, regardless of ever that is streaming or otherwise, then we can really start cooking.
Yeah.
No pun intended with all that, and we can really get things going. So I'm just excited for what's going to be happening for the future of TNA, considering that this is one of the biggest crowds in a while.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what people kind of forget about TNA and their relationship with Anthem is that Anthem actually owns Access TV. So that's why TNA is on that channel. But I think once they move away, and I do know, like it's been out there that they're looking for another partner. Like they want to actually have TNA off Access TV because honestly, Access TV not the best network, and it's literally music focused a lot of the time. It's more like
Yeah.
music things. And Anthem also owns, I believe, some type of MMA sport, and they just kind of sold their rights to CBS to be aired. So I'm hopeful that TNA is kind of in the mix for whatever they start to negotiate with TNA and kind of getting it on a bigger platform. I think that's why they started to offer it on the TNA Plus app for people to view, because that's widely known. You can download the app, purchase a subscription, and then watch the weekly shows. And then you can watch it on YouTube as an insider for, I think they did go up on the price, but I think it's like $149 now, and you get all 4 shows each month.
Yeah.
So they have those options, but you have to hit that TV market. And I think very, very soon they'll hit that TV market where they'll have a plethora of eyes on their show, where it'll just feel like hopefully the TNA of old from 2005, 2006, when the AJ Styles was there and Samoa Joe and Christopher Daniels. And once, they get that TV deal locked in, TNA, I think is going to be on to bigger and better things.
Yeah, I'm just excited for what TNA has in the future, regardless of whether it's on a bigger network for TV purposes or TV isn't everything,
Mm-hmm.
because obviously there's other avenues like the streaming for TNA Plus and the YouTube TV and just the YouTube membership and all of that kind of stuff. So there are a lot more people that are probably watching TNA than what the numbers say when it comes down to
Right.
the ratings or whatever happens here. Because I'm not a ratings warrior and try to promote ratings and say that they matter or don't matter or anything like that. They do matter in a sense, but that's not the only way that people watch pro wrestling nowadays. Let's just be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. And ratings, and I've mentioned this before, like ratings have changed over the course of the past 20 years. And
Yeah.
with the rise of streaming, you got to take the streaming numbers in consideration because they do calculate that. You got to calculate the TV numbers as well. I don't even know if they calculate the views on YouTube for their shows. So TNA is out there. It's definitely out there. Having that deal in place will put it on that bigger platform. But absolutely, yeah, I'm not a ratings warrior. I'm not out here promoting the ratings each and every week, because honestly, for me, I don't care, because the show is still going to air next week. It's not like it's not like these other shows out here that they're dependent on the ratings to keep going and they get canceled. Professional wrestling is not like that. So
If you're entertaining me, that's all that matters. I'm going to tune
period.
into your show every single week, regardless of whatever numbers are happening here. So if you're entertaining me and the storylines are continuing to progress and actually make sense in ways, then you got me, and I'm going to watch every single week. That's all that matters.
Nah, absolutely. I agree with you there. So we'll go ahead and move on to our next match, which is the TNA Tag Team Championship match. This system, Brian Myers and Eddie Edwards will be defending against ABC, Chris Bay, and Ace Austin. And I know this match is going to bang. I know this match right off the bat is going to bang. ABC, I feel like being a TNA snob, as I call myself sometimes, I feel like ABC is like the best tag team in the world. I feel like they deliver every time they go in that ring. Literally last night I watched Explosion, and not Chris Bay, but Ace Austin was facing Brian Myers, and he actually pinned Brian Myers to get the victory, to gain the momentum going into tonight. And Ace Austin is one of the greats in the tag team division. It's so as Chris Bay. And the system, it's not much to say. The system has remained strong from Hard to Kill. This is another match I really don't know what happens. I don't have a prediction, because it all could come crumbling down for the system tonight at Slammiversary, or the system could be remaining strong at the end of the pay-per-view. But going off my course of my predictions here, because I took Spitfire and I took Matt Hardy over JDC, I am going to take ABC to take home the tag team titles tonight.
We must have the same sheet because I'm right along with you. I love both of these tag teams. I think Brian Myers and Eddie Edwards were just on. I think they're honestly born to be a tag team. I'm not gonna lie.
Right.
I love this team. But ABC, fellow Bullet Club member Chris Bay, how you doing, man? He anointed me in there. I Chris Bay is fantastic, and so is Ace Dawson. I just love ABC, and I just think it's time for them to win those tag team titles again. But ultimately, again, with a lot of these matches, if the other person wins, and we do have a retention of the TNA tag team titles, with how much I like the system, I am not mad at it whatsoever. So, like,
Right.
the thing about the system is they're supposed to be a stable that you hate, but you don't, because ultimately you got so many of these great wrestlers within this group. How can you really not like them in a sense? Like it's just so cool to see. But ABC winning those tag team titles once again should be absolutely fantastic as we see the crumbling of the system taking place. But yeah, ABC tag team titles makes sense. And I know actually a ton of people that would be very happy if ABC did pick up a win here. So yeah, I'm going with ABC.
Yeah, I think we're both in agreement with here with ABC. What I have like in the back of my mind is, as I've watched TNA over the past couple of years, that there's usually one pay-per-view where almost all of the titles change hands. Now we're under new, new management. Scott D'Amore is gone, so I don't know if that plays a factor in that actually not happening. But I definitely can see the system losing all of their titles tonight at Slammiversary. But I think me and you, we are in agreement here. ABC takes home those titles and promotes them high on TNA television.
Don't remind me about Scott not being here, man. That was so sad. That was such a sad situation, and the fact that he even has a non-compete too is just man.
Yeah, because
I'm
I
so
didn't even
sad.
like when he was ousted, like I was expecting him to pop up somewhere. And then to find out just a couple of weeks ago, I just found out that like his non-compete is like until the beginning of
Like the
2025,
beginning
I
of
think.
2025. Like he's
Yeah.
not gonna show up for forever, it seems like. And I'm like, he's gonna show up somewhere. He will be at least in some sort of like a backstage role or somewhere within a pro wrestling company. I just feel because with the track record that he has, with what he did with TNA, bringing it
Mhm.
basically back to prominence. I mean, how could you not want that guy a part of your backstage crew or, be a part of something within your company? I just feel like it is a matter of time. But that's not going to start until the beginning of 2025. And that just sucks for him specifically because he just has to sit and wait until that
Yeah.
happens. But, whatever happens with him, I know it's going to be great. It was just a terrible situation what happened, and I don't even think it was really like I don't even know where it happened. I think it just was TNA just seeing like with the new management and everything like that. They kind of just had to do what they had to do and cut losses, even though I think this is a terrible loss to cut, loss to cut.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen so many rumors over the past, he's been gone almost 6 months, which is crazy. This year is flying by. But I've seen so many rumors that TNA management didn't want him to be on TV a lot. That's why Santino was brought in to kind of be the authority figure. I mean,
Which
it's
is
been
insane.
insane of the rumors that I've heard. But like you said, again, this man really was the one to bring Impact to prominence again and to be able to get the name change back to TNA, and the hype that happened going into Hard to Kill, I feel like was not only just Scott D'Amore, but it was the entire TNA roster with the big hype going into Hard to Kill. And I feel like it was just a little bit of a crushing momentum for them to let him go. And a lot of the fans were not happy. And it was for a couple of months there, people were not watching. But I really feel
Yeah.
like since Rebellion and things have kind of picked up steam, and then we have this WWE TNA stuff going on. I feel like people are tuning in more and more, but it's really unfortunate what happened with Scott D'Amore, because I was really behind that man, because I fell in love. And I guess the difference with me is, like, I fell in love with Impact Wrestling, not TNA, because I really didn't watch, years back. Like, I was tuning in a little bit, but I wasn't like a really big fan. So I technically fell in love with Impact Wrestling. And then now I'm, kind of falling in love with TNA and watching all of the old stuff. But yeah, just a sad, unfortunate event that happened with Scott D'Amore. And I hope, maybe when his non-compete is up, he may show up in WWE.
Dude, I think that would just be a great thing for him. And, him being like, and there's other TNA's quote unquote alumni back there in WWE anyway. Abyss is as a producer back there. So I mean, that right there, that's just awesome to see. But like, I just feel like there is really only a matter of time. But when we did hear about the news of everything, Scott D'Amore really brought that camaraderie to the TNA locker room. And I think that's what everybody really loved Scott D'Amore for the most, not just for the creative side of things, but the fact that the TNA locker room is literally like a family back there. And when they heard the news, just like we did, because I felt like everybody just kind of found out at the same time, even the talent were like, justice for Scott, man. Like this was just not something that, we really could just sit down and just stand by and just watch happen. They did what they could, but ultimately management is going to do what management is going to do. And they did what they did. But regardless of however that went, it's been almost 6 months, which is crazy. Like you said, we're still on a high right now for TNA, and that's all that matters. So as long as the talent are doing their thing and happy with what they are doing within the TNA land space, I guess that's all that matters at the end of the day. And we'll see Scott whenever we see him.
Absolutely. And you said it best right there at the end. If the TNA roster is happy, if the TNA wrestlers and stars are happy, that is all we should be caring about. And I totally agree with you there. But yeah, let's move on to our next match, which AJ Francis versus PCO for the Digital Media Championship. And I didn't have room to put the secondary title there, but I believe it's called the International Heavyweight Wrestling Championship. That will be on the line as well. So how do you feel about AJ Francis taking that leap from WWE to TNA, and how do you think his run is going with TNA?
I'm very happy for him. AJ Francis it's just somebody that, when we saw him in WWE and everything like that, I always knew that he could have been something. Not gonna lie, I really did. And then the fallout of the ring happened. And that thing happened right there with everything. Joe Hendry called it out, which was hilarious at the time, but it wasn't, it wasn't really totally needed. That whole thing actually led to something very, very serious and very, very big for somebody like AJ Francis. And the fact that he, came out, shared that story, and did everything with that was amazing for him to do so. But the fact that he showed up in TNA, did his thing, made everything happen with him. We created this whole, new tag team with I am so bad. I can't even remember the name. Shoot, that's not good.
First Class.
It's First Class. Yes. But who's the partner? Who's the partner? I'm
Rich
so
Swann.
bad. Rich Swann. Which again, the fact that I got back into TNA again and seeing somebody like Rich Swann, who I haven't seen since the freaking Cruiserweight Classic days. So I saw that guy and I was like, wait, Rich is here? That's awesome. So I saw all of this happen and I see First Class being formed. I just think AJ Francis being here in TNA has done nothing but great things for him. He won the Digital Media Championship, which was a shock to me. I didn't know that was going to happen, but I absolutely loved that it did. I had no idea that I had no idea he was also the International Heavyweight Wrestling Champion. I don't know what belt that is from, but the fact that he is holding both of these championships and going at it with PCO of all people, like, dude, PCO is already a monster enough as it is.
Yeah,
Like, dude, this match is going to be just crazy enough as it is with PCO being a part of it, because that dude has
he's
no idea
insane.
when to quit. He's just he's an old bastard, and I love it, but it's just awesome to see. This is going to be awesome. I think this is going to be absolutely insane in one way or another. But I'm sorry, PCO, don't come at me. But I just don't see how AJ Francis loses this. I'm going with AJ. But yeah, this is going to be awesome, and I'm actually really excited for what AJ Francis has in store for the future of TNA, especially with all the partnerships that he already had. Because we saw
Right.
BDE in the crowd that day, and I was like, BDE is there, which I was so happy for him, because BDE has deserved something like that for a very long time with the rest of the Vibe guys and all that stuff, because the rest of the Vibe guys were back there too.
Yeah.
They just weren't on camera with BDE. But yeah, this is going to be awesome, and I can't wait to see what TNA does with other content creators, because I feel like AJ Francis was kind of like really the start of that. AJ Francis really kind of probably put in the words saying these content creators can actually do something within the space
Right.
of TNA, and which is why TNA is allowing these content creators like Khan and Santi and everybody, allowing them to show the product on their stream so that they can show it to more people and just get more TNA eyes in there and
Yeah.
just doing things with everything. So I'm loving what AJ Francis is doing in TNA, truthfully, because
Yeah.
it's just awesome all around.
Yeah, I think AJ Francis, I think he found his sweet spot, and I think his sweet spot is TNA wrestling. I think this is where he belonged. I'm not sure if it was ever going to work out with him in WWE, but since he's been in TNA, I've seen a lot of people be more supportive of AJ Francis. I wasn't one for him to win the digital media championship. I wanted Crazy Steve to hold that belt a little longer. And
Yeah.
speaking of Crazy Steve, where are you? We need you back. But
Yeah.
anyway, but AJ Francis, yeah, won that digital media championship, took it by storm. He's facing PCO, the International Heavyweight Wrestling Championship. I think is significant to Canada where they are,
Oh.
and he actually bought that title. And I believe
Oh.
PCO held that title in his early years of his career. So that's kind of the story around it. But I know this is PCO's hometown, and I would love PCO to win. And I think in my original prediction video, I said PCO was going to win. But this time around, I'm going to change it because we got some hours before the show. I am going to take AJ Francis just like you. I don't see him losing here. If PCO does win this, it is because it's his hometown, and it is because I believe he said it at the press conference. This is the first time he's ever wrestled in Montreal, in front of his family and friends. So if he wins this, I think, it's warranted here. But other way around, AJ Francis taking the victory just pushes him along in TNA because I really think he's doing great things.
Yeah. So I'm excited. When I saw the match graphic, I honestly didn't even realize that this match was happening. So the fact that you even said that, and then I saw the match graphic, so I was like, Francis and a PCO, the hell? Gonna be great regardless.
Insane.
I love it. I love it.
So the next match we got on the card, we have this is the match I'm super excited for. Mustafa Ali defending the X Division Championship against Speedball Mike Bailey. And anytime Mike Bailey is in that ring is must watch. I know you watched Bound for Glory last year, 2023, and you saw Ospreay and Mike Bailey, and how that match was great. And since then, Mike Bailey has kind of been on that rise in the X Division. And like I said, anytime he's in the ring is must see. And I think even over WrestleMania weekend last year, so that would be WrestleMania 39, I think he wrestled in like 7 different shows over a 4-day period. Like Mike Bailey is consistent, right? And then Mustafa Ali, left WWE and took TNA over by storm. And when he came in, and I believe he won the title off of Chris Sabin, I was not a fan of it because I wanted Chris Sabin to retain. But obviously, they kind of left a couple of months later. But he has taken that X division by storm. He has proved that he is a main event guy, and he's like, he can carry the show, right? So I'm excited for this match. I really think this is the match. And I said earlier that there's two matches that can really steal it, and it's Mike Santana and Jake something. And this is actually the second match, Mustafa Ali versus Mike Bailey. But in his 6 months of being with TNA, I think this is the first time I'm going against Mustafa Ali, and I'm taking Mike Bailey to win that X Division championship tonight.
Nah, man, and Ali we trust. What are you doing? Nah, first of all, I have to say I love Mike Bailey. I think Mike Bailey is fantastic. I've actually seen him in the ring, met the dude. He's just an
That's
overall
cool.
he's a down to earth guy. He showed up out of nowhere in a independent promotion here in CT, and I was like, holy shit, I didn't even know he was on the card. So that was just awesome to see. And obviously they had the meet and greets afterwards and all of that, and I got to meet him. Just a really down to earth dude. But and Ali we trust, man. I think Ali is going to retain this X Division championship, because I honestly, with how great he has been doing with that X Division championship, I think there's, even though he won this title back in February, and he's had a pretty good reign with it so far, like over 140 days with the title, I think there's just more to do. I think there's more to do. I think there's just, I don't know who's going to be that guy to, I wouldn't say dethrone Mustafa Ali, because it's not as long of a reign as somebody that has the same last name. But I just think there's more story to tell, and I think there's going to be that one guy that is just going to get Mustafa over the edge enough to possibly have him just be off his game and lose that title. And I don't think that's going to be Mike Bailey just yet.
No, that's a fair point. That's a fair point there. I think one thing with me with Mustafa Ali is I want Mike Bailey to win the title, but I feel like, because as far as I know, Mustafa Ali has not signed an official contract, like a lengthy contract.
That
So I
is
feel like
true.
if he loses this title, he's maybe stepping away from TNA, and I don't want to see that. So I'm on the fence here. Like, I want Mike Bailey to win, but I also want Mustafa Ali to stick with TNA, and what he's been doing has been great. And like you say, you got to trust, and you kind of got to trust in Ali, right? I'm sticking to my guns here, though, Phil. I'm sticking to my guns. I'm gonna take Mike Bailey, but everything you said was right on, because I do feel like there's more story to be told with Mustafa Ali. And there's one guy that I feel like is on the back burner right now that could be that guy to potentially take the title away from Mustafa Ali, because the X Division is not about weight limits, but it's Hammerstone.
He's a
Alex
travesty, by the
Hammerstone.
way, and I agree with Mustafa on that thing, because when he had to face, I believe he had to face Jake something, and Jake something is not a small man.
Right.
So I was like, you know what, justice for Mustafa. But you're right. I ultimately, at the end of the day, I love the gimmick, so I'm just gonna follow it every single step of the way. But with how the X Division is run, it's not about the whole weight limit things. It's about the heart. Oh my god. It's just, I love what they're doing, and that whoever that guy is that's going to set Mustafa over the edge and possibly lose the title, I don't know who it was going to be, and I wish I actually had a few names that that could be contenders for that. But
Mhm.
with the way that TNA runs the X Division, like, you can honestly possibly name anybody, and it could be a good matchup with Mustafa regardless. So I'm just ultimately sitting back and just waiting for things to happen, as much as everybody else is, when it comes down to this title.
Yeah, and that's kind of how TNA is. You might have someone outside come in and take out Mustafa Ali. It's kind of how TNA is run. So you just kind of have to be a little patient with TNA a lot of the times as they kind of build these outside stories, for their talent. So yeah, I agree there. There could be that one person that really just kind of takes the title off of Mustafa Ali, really sets him off, and then kind of takes that title. So yeah, both scenarios I think are great. I really kind of agree with you on both ends there.
Plus, I really like the team with him, Mike Bailey, and Trent Seven.
Mhm.
They did the whole Speedball Mountain thing when they
Yes.
had their little tag team there. I don't know if that's still going on again. If that's not a thing anymore, I apologize. But I did like that for what it was. And heck, if you even wanted to get back into that and possibly go after the tag team titles down the line for those two, I wouldn't even be mad at that because I think that would be a good spot for them.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. And yeah, and
it's
it's
just
definitely still a thing between them. It's right now they have been focusing more on Mike Bailey with the X Division Championship scene. But yeah, it's definitely still a thing between Trent Seven and Speedball Mike Bailey. Actually, Trent Seven, I believe, came out to try to help Mike Bailey this week when he was attacked by Mustafa Ali, but Trent Seven wasn't able to help him because all of Mustafa Ali's goons helped him out. But yeah, that's definitely still a thing in TNA, and them eventually going after the tag team titles again would be something epic to see.
So we'll see. I'm very excited for this matchup here. The matchup is going to be insane with just the
Yeah.
talent that we have here. So the X division is strong, and I'm loving with what they're doing here. But in Ali, we trust. Indeed, I got you, Johnny. I got you. I got you.
So we move on. We're down to our last two matches, and the first of the last two matches is for the Knockouts World Championship. Jordan Grace defending the TNA Knockouts World Championship against newcomer to TNA Ash by Elegance. And I know a lot of you guys on this channel know me as a diehard Dana Brooke fan, and to see her come over to TNA and take the TNA, fans by storm since she came in has been great to see. I think she has honed her craft in TNA. I like the way she's utilized. I like her as Ash by Elegance. I really like the name at first. It didn't catch with me because, like a lot of people say, it's like a perfume bottle, it's like a perfume brand, but
Yeah.
now it fit what she's really trying to do. And this match is another potential to outshine a lot of the matches on the card. Jordan Grace, powerhouse. Ash by Elegance, kind of an all-around performer, and sometimes kind of needs that extra push. She reminds me a little bit of Naomi, and Jordan Grace said this earlier this year about Trinity when she was in TNA, is that she wanted to push the aggression with Trinity. She wanted to see that aggression, and I think that's something Jordan Grace can kind of do with Ash by Elegance tonight in their match. Surprisingly, as much as I love Jordan Grace, as much as she has been doing great things in TNA, and just not over the past 6 months, but in her entire run with Impact in TNA, I'm taking Ash by Elegance
That's
because I am just a
huge.
huge fan and I want her to have that moment.
I just want to touch on Ash for a second because I saw her show up in TNA when she did. I forget the day that she actually did, but when she did show up
Deal.
in when she did show up in TNA, I was actually very excited to see what she could do because as much as people in the past just did not like Dana Brooke and what she did during the course of her WWE run, again was like Jake something. I just knew that there could have been something there with Dana Brooke because she has the look. She's got everything that you could possibly want. But I think they just didn't find a gimmick or a style or whatever. She just needed that one thing to click with her, and they didn't really find that in WWE. But when they showed up in TNA and did this Ash by Elegance type of character, she fits this a hell of a lot more than what she ever did in WWE.
Mm-hmm.
And she really fits into this character and really has become whatever this Ash by Elegance is supposed to represent. So that right there, I'm very happy for her in that sense. This whole thing, to me, even though they did probably do things in TNA to really, make things happen for this feud, this to me started in that Women's Championship matchup with Jordynne Grace and Roxanne, and how Ash by Elegance showed up back to NXT and basically cost Jordan the championship when Jordan almost had that thing won.
Right.
When that whole thing happened and you saw Dana Brooke show back up in NXT, and the fact that I love about this whole partnership thing here too is that they're calling them by their TNA names, which is
Yes.
great. The commentary team in NXT called her Ash by Elegance. They didn't say Dana Brooke, or maybe I'm probably mishearing things or whatever, but I heard Ash from Vic. So I was like, okay, that's great. So we're seeing things happen. We're seeing things progress here. And you're going with Ash, and I'm not surprised. But I'm not going to be shocked if Ash wins. But I don't know how I can go against Jordynne Grace with how great she has been doing. So I'll go with Jordan. But if Ash wins this championship here, A, I'm not going to be surprised at all because of what they've been doing. B, there's obviously more things to do with these two, regardless of whoever comes out with the championship. And 3, whatever Jordynne Grace decides to do next, that's ultimately going to be a real deciding factor and what could really be in her future. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's going to be some sort of surprise within this matchup. I'm just saying. I don't know when these surprises happen,
Right.
because Jordynne Grace did tease them. But if the surprise started to happen here, and let's say Jordynne Grace has somebody to, come to her aid in case if Ash's assistant tries to get into the way of things, then we'll see where things go from there. But I'm very excited for this matchup here. I'm going with Jordan, but I'm not going to be shocked or mad if Ash does win this
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, fair statement. And you're right, Vic Joseph, he did call her by Ash by Elegance. He did say that's Dana. No, that's TNA star Ash by Elegance. So he did put that in there.
Yeah.
And I really think she has grown so much, in TNA. And like you said, this really started at NXT Battleground. Ash by Elegance had been out there at every title defense for Jordynne Grace in her matches, but she never really interacted with Jordynne Grace until NXT Battleground. That's when it kind of really kicked off. And there's a lot of story to tell. They can, because Ash by Elegance's concierge, George Iceman, can get involved and potentially cost her the title tonight if he gets involved in the wrong manner. So Jordynne Grace could win, and this story could progress to Victory Road, to Emergence, and to Bound for Glory, where Ash by Elegance may have that moment at Bound for Glory in winning the title. And like you said, wherever Jordynne Grace ends up, I know her contract ends, I believe, January of 2025 with TNA. Wherever Jordynne Grace ends up after this is going to be epic. I think we all kind of agree that she's probably headed to WWE, but I have this thing in the back of my mind that Jordynne Grace is so popular that she might be the first, star in the modern day era to sign with WWE and sign with TNA, like a dual contract type deal, because she is so big that she can do that. But tonight, this match is going down. You got Jordynne Grace. I got Ash by Elegance. A lot of these matches, I think we have said that it really doesn't matter who wins, because there's some type of outcome that can come from both ends. And I think this match is included here with Jordynne Grace and Ash by Elegance tonight.
The thing about TNA that I love the most about any of this, is that when we have said that we're not going to care about really who comes up to victory here, that doesn't mean that the story in any way, shape, or form is just on a downhill climb, or just we're just allowing things to progress in a way,
Right.
because at the end of the day, with TNA, there's just a lot of story here with a lot of these matches here, and we're not saying that we don't care who picks up the victory here just simply because story's not interesting. The
Right.
story is interesting, and the fact of whoever wins here can just progress the story in ways that we just don't know what can happen.
Right.
So the stories in TNA versus the stories in any other company can be looked at in ways. The stories in TNA can be looked at way differently than a storyline in WWE, or vice versa, and just allowing things to progress more in TNA just simply because of the talent and the way that things are run in TNA with storytelling and storylines are just awesome to see. So I love what I just love what TNA is doing in terms of the storytelling aspect of their television.
Yeah, they really are do a great job of progressing their stories. And I like one thing that TNA does that a lot of people don't mention is that some weeks you don't see the same people on the same on the show. So,
Right.
like in WWE, and it's not a bad thing, but we might get Cody Rhodes on every SmackDown. We might get, Bailey on every SmackDown or whatever, but there are sometimes we might not see Jordan Grace wrestle for a couple of weeks. Now, she'll be on the episode in some type of capacity. It could be a backstage segment, it could be a pre-recorded promo, but a lot of what TNA does is sometimes kind of creates that anticipation for that specific wrestler to show up. Like Moose, Moose didn't wrestle on TNA Impact this week, but Moose wrestled on Explosion, and he's the world champion. That's
Yeah,
the things I like about TNA and kind of how they utilize their talent. So yeah, the progression of storylines in TNA is very, very different from what you see in WWE, what you see in AEW, and I like it, and it keeps
yeah,
me invested, and I can tell that it really keeps you invested as well, Phil. So this is one of those matches that have been slowly progressing over 6 months and really took heat at NXT Battleground. And tonight we see that payoff of that build.
for sure. I cannot wait. And I think these two ladies are going to show a lot of fans what they can do. Jordan Grace, we already know how great she is, right?
Right.
But the fact that I almost did it. It's not her. It's Ash by Elegance. The fact that Ash by Elegance is in a huge spotlight like she is here tonight with that TNA Knockouts Championship is only going to get her more motivated to really show people what she can do. And I think a partner like Jordan Grace is only going to help her even more in the long run.
100% agree with everything you said. This is one of those matches tonight, everyone, that you kind of have to have your eyes on, because this match has the potential to go both ways, and really given if they're given the amount of time, they both can really deliver tonight in this match. So I'm with you. I'm super excited for this. This is one of the matches I'm gonna have my eyes glued on tonight as we stream again on the Wrestling for Life Network tonight. We'll be having our live reactions to Slammiversary. So I did say, and I put out a tweet a couple of weeks ago, that if Ash by Elegance wins, because I will be here live tonight as well, y'all might see me cry live on stream.
Oh man. Oh boy. That's gonna be a blast.
Craziness going on. But we have made it, Phil. We have made it to our final match. And I remember telling you when I wanted you to come on here that we were going to do like 30 minutes, but we have went an hour and 8 minutes, which is crazy. But I knew when I told you that was going to be a lie, because I've been kind of wanting to do this with you for a minute, and we finally got that opportunity. And hopefully we'll get that opportunity again to do it on a WWE scale and not TNA. But we have made it to the main event, which is the 6-way elimination match. And I have to go to Wikipedia because I can't remember everybody in it, but Moose will be defending against Josh Alexander, Steve Maclin, Nick Nemeth, Frankie Kazarian, and the ever popular and most over superstar in professional wrestling, Joe Hendry. And me and you, Phil, we have talked over the past like 3 to 4 months of how we both thought that Nick Nemeth was going to win at Slammiversary. That thought left my mind 3 weeks ago because at this point, I don't know who wins. It's one of those things where you have the system looking strong heading into Slammiversary. You got Josh Alexander, who hasn't held that title in a minute. Steve Maclin is kind of back on that rise to the top of the division. And then you got Nick Nemeth, who came in at Hard to Kill. And I really believe Slammiversary was his moment to win. And then you got Frankie Kazarian, who's out there calling himself the king of TNA. And then you have the person that I believe the majority of the outside of TNA fan base wants to win, and that's Joe Hendry. And yes, Joe Hendry is probably the biggest star in professional wrestling right now. Wherever you go, you're seeing Joe Hendry signs. You're seeing Joe Hendry signs on WWE television, TNA television. He's out there in Scotland, which I just found out that Scotland during the WWE pay-per-view that was out there, Clash at the Castle, he personally paid for those billboards to be up there during the promotion of WWE's pay-per-view. So any of these 6 guys, Moose could retain, and any of the other 5 guys could really take the title tonight. I'm still really undecided. In my TikTok prediction video, I did say Joe Hendry, but honestly, I don't know who wins. So Phil, give me your thoughts of this huge 6-way elimination match.
This is going to be nuts. Like just the talent that we have here is insane. Josh Alexander, to me, I'm not calling him underrated, but the fact of the matter is this dude is just so good. And because of the TNA whole thing not being seen by a lot of people, some people sleep a lot on somebody like Josh Alexander and don't even really know how good this guy really is. So he's just awesome, and I can't wait to see what he does in this matchup here. Frankie Kazarian, I'm going to run through everybody here, so excuse me. Yeah. Frankie Kazarian, I have loved what he's done in TNA ever since he showed back up here. Great stuff. No complaints here. Moose is just great. Moose is just insane. That's really all I have to say about him. Nick Nemeth showing up in TNA was a freaking whirlwind. The dude, when he showed up in TNA, I was like, this is where he belongs.
Right.
This is where he belongs. This is a platform that is going to allow him to be utilized in any way that he wants, and ultimately he would deserve that because he is just, honestly, to me, he's one of the greats in TNA right now. Like Nick Nemeth, he's done absolutely killing it ever since showing up here. Joe Hendry, I don't know what else you want me to say. It's Joe Hendry. He's just that dude. And Steve Maclin, I like Steve. I like, you know, when Steve Maclin, when I got basically reintroduced to Steve Maclin, I was like, this guy got it. This guy got it. So he's really something here. I think we see a new TNA World Heavyweight Champion regardless tonight. I do. I think it comes down to 2 people. And it really sucks because I don't know who I want to win more. I think it's either going to be coming down to Nick Nemeth or, Joe Hendry. Right. I think it's really going to come down to those 2 people. And I'm not saying that those 2 are going to be the final 2 men in this matchup here. It really could come down that way. But I think it's either going to be one of those 2 names. Now, with it being the elimination match, that's really going to be interesting to see here. Because who's going to take the falls? Who are going to be the last 2 to possibly win this TNA World Heavyweight Championship? Could we see Moose go on a run and basically eliminate everybody just to try to retain his TNA World Heavyweight title? Or are we going to see the fall of Moose and have everybody go at him and try to eliminate him first, so that one way or another we will get a new TNA World Champion? There are a lot of possibilities, especially with it being an elimination match, and I love that they made it that, because that right there just automatically says not only are we going to get a great match, but there are a lot of possibilities of who's going to be pinned first, second, third, fourth, fifth, until we finally get that sixth person winning that title. So I'm very excited to see what happens in this elimination match.
Yeah, and what really scares me about the idea of the elimination match is Moose taking a pin. And that is what's stopping me from saying Moose is going to retain, because Moose taking a pin, the last person to pin Moose was Joe Hendry, right? And so to see Moose take a pin and lose his title tonight is it's like Roman Reigns. It's like Moose is the TNA small
How long
version.
has he been champion for?
He's been champion since Hard to Kill, but it seems like it's been much longer.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So it's like when he takes the pin, it's like going to be like a gasp in the TNA arena, because it's like Moose losing is unheard of. And that's what's stopping me tonight. That's really what's stopping me.
That's the one thing here, though, to me, is that I mentioned earlier how everybody can gang up on Moose. And, if everybody gangs up on Moose to a point where, look, at the end of the day, Moose can probably fight these 5 men 1-on-5 and still probably come out to victory with just how great he is and just how dominant he has been. But if they make him look strong into defeat in any way by having people just kind of gang up on him, I don't think it's going to hurt him all that much. But again, you're kind of right. It is kind of a touchy situation with how they're going to either pin him or make him look strong against these 5 other guys. So they're going to have to be very diligent with it. But I think with TNA and their track record, I think it's going to be worked out one way or another.
Yeah, absolutely. This match right here is going to be phenomenal. You got 6 of the biggest guys in TNA wrestling going at it. You got Moose, who has really been presented as a world champion. And I know it's kind of a crazy statement saying that, because he is the world champion, but the way the presentation has been made for Moose over the past 6 months has been incredible. And if today is the day we see that reign in of Moose, kudos to Moose, kudos to TNA management, kudos to Anthem for really making Moose look like the world champion of any company. And I appreciate that feeling from what they have given us. The field is stacked for this main event. Phil, you got any final thoughts about this main event as we head closer and closer to the end here?
I'm just ready for it, honestly. And regardless of whoever comes out to TNA World Champion tonight, I just got to give my props to Moose, because he's held this championship since the middle of January. And when he won it at Hard to Kill, I was just very happy for him, because this is, I believe, his 2nd run with the TNA World Heavyweight title. So the fact that he is allowing the fact that TNA is showing a lot of trust in Moose to hold this championship for as long as they have him holding it for is just really a testament to how great Moose is for this company. And I just can't wait to see what they do with this TNA world title moving forward. It's going to be great.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be insane tonight as we get close to Slammiversary, their biggest show in I don't know how many years, with a sold out crowd of 4,000 people. It's just insane to see Any final thoughts about the Slammiversary card? Any final thoughts you have going into tonight? What are you hoping for? What's your expectations as we get into, which really Bound for Glory is their WrestleMania, but it seems like Slammiversary feels like their WrestleMania this year. So give me your final thoughts if you have any of going into this big final Slammiversary card.
Not only am I just ready for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship matchup, but I'm ready just for this entire card. I think this card is absolutely stacked to the gills. I think TNA has been on just a rise as of late that, honestly, nobody's going to be able to stop if they ever have anything to say about it. Um, the TNA talent that we have here in this card are just fantastic. The way that they have been building up this card has been fantastic. And honestly, to me, I've always felt like, yeah, sure, this feels like a WrestleMania to me. But with everything with SummerSlam and just allowing, like, just the way that the summer months have been going on for any company as of late, professional wrestling is firing on all cylinders, no matter what company you watch. Especially with TNA right now, TNA has been on such a high as of late, and this card can really show people what TNA is all about. And that is what I'm really looking forward to tonight when it comes down to this card. Every matchup here has a potential of being great, and I really hope that people give the show a chance. This is going to be an amazing night for pro wrestling.
Yeah, absolutely. Tonight is one of those moments where TNA can really show that they're here and they're here to stay. TNA has went through a lot of iterations. There was a point where TNA was about to shut its doors and close down, but TNA proves that it cannot die. And tonight is one of those nights where they can prove yet again. And I believe Jordan Grace said it in so many words that we are the standard in professional wrestling. That TNA is here to stay and to be included in the big main three here. Tonight is that proving ground. I know we didn't go over the countdown matches, but there's one match that really will showcase the knockouts division tonight that's going down on the countdown. So be there for the countdown show. But yeah, it's really good tonight. I'm excited for everything TNA has gathered. This is not just done by one person, but it's done by the TNA roster, by the TNA management, and everybody in the Anthem, and the Anthem higher ups have really built this pay-per-view to make it seem like it's going to be huge tonight. One of the big things I'm looking forward to as we, head to the door here is how the arena looks and how TNA presents the arena tonight to have a capacity crowd of 4,000 people. Tonight is one of those hard to kill moments where at Hard to Kill, we brought back TNA. At Slammiversary tonight, we proved that TNA is here to stay. And as we close out this, I really want to thank you, Phil, for being here. I've been wanting this for a very long time with you to just kind of sit down and chop up, wrestling. And we got the opportunity to do that here. So I'm going to let you kind of give your little outro here as we head to the door. But again, I just want to say thank you for joining me today.
I want to say thank you for allowing me to be here. I know how hard the crew works here with the Wrestling for Life Network. I know how sometimes hard it is to bring in a new guy to the forefront. And I'm not saying that I'm a part of the network or anything like that. I'm just saying that in a sense of allowing somebody like me who loves pro wrestling as much as anybody just to come on in here and really just kind of just chop it up, chop pro wrestling with anybody. It's just an awesome thing to see. I love that everybody was so willing and kind to have me on here. And I'm thankful that you vouched for me, because we talked earlier in our conversation earlier, and I'm not going to completely shell out everything that we were talking about, but the fact that you vouched out for me and wanted me to be on here is just super. It's just awesome that you allowed me to be on here, and I can't thank you and the rest of the crew enough for that. I will definitely be watching you guys' watch along for this show, as well as I will be just watching the show myself. So I'll be hearing everybody and potentially hear you cry on this platform for Ash if that does happen. But I just really do allow and want to thank everybody for having me here. But again, for the people that are here that are going to be watching this, thank you for watching. This was awesome. This was a great sit down. I knew it would be, because Anthony and I love pro wrestling as much as any other person in this world. And I've been wanting to do this for a long time as well. So this is really cool to do. And I'm sorry that this is probably going to be within the hour and a half spectrum. We did talk for a little while, but I hope you guys enjoyed what we did talk about. And but follow me on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. I'm not going to ramble on anymore. TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram at PhillyMatt_ outside the brand on YouTube, trying to get to that road of 1,000 subscribers. We are so close to getting there. So please help us out if you can. And it's just going to be an awesome night tonight, and I can't wait. Thank you.
And again, I thank you for being on here. And as we wrap up, I just want to remind everybody that we will be live. Me and KJ will be live tonight for TNA Slammiversary. I believe we have tomorrow off, and we are back on next week with Monday Night Raw, NXT, Dynamite. And we have Wrestling Court coming up next Thursday, which is going to be fun. And then we have SmackDown, and we roll again all the same each and every week. Phil, I want to thank you again for being here. But that's a wrap of the TNA review and the preview and predictions for Slammiversary. Again, Phil, I can't thank you enough for being here. And that is a wrap.